All right, everyone. Thanks for joining. Very good evening. Let's get started. So today we are going to cover domain 2, which is incident response, business continuity, and disaster recovery. So these three topics we are going to cover today. Agenda will talk about weightage, then incident response, business continuity management, disaster recovery. In between, I have included some of the multiple choice questions. So among three, business continuity, disaster recovery, and incident response, people safety is on top. So if you have seen any tricky questions talking about people safety or human safety, you need to select among any process, human safety is first, because human life is important than the system or business or process. So that's the reason I just put this on the top. There are questions you may have seen in the exam. They may ask about incident and they would trick you to figure out, are you selecting human is a top priority or not? If you have encountered any questions like that, make sure to select human safety is on top among all three. So I haven't discussed these all three topic yet. Before that, let's see this outline. I just like to remind you guys about outline. This outline is important as you need to score more than 50 in all 5 domains. The domain which we will cover today is just a 10%. So it's an easy one. You can score that 10% easily just understanding these 3 concepts. So the 10% weightage is the topic today we are going to cover. This one slide, I just summarized all 3 concepts into one pager: business continuity, disaster recovery, incident response. Most of the time have seen students raise questions or doubts among these 3 concepts because these 3 concepts are interlinked. Often it may confuse you, which one is disaster recovery, which one is business continuity, or which one is incident response. Let's start with incident response. Incident response always talk about cybersecurity incident, nothing else. So if you see anywhere there is a hacking, there is a breach, there is a vulnerability exposure, or the company got hacked, these are all cybersecurity incidents. So we need to map that event into incident response category. So incident response primarily talks about identify, contain, eradicate, and recover from cybersecurity incidents. What is cybersecurity incidents? If there is a disruption to confidentiality, integrity, availability in the form of cyber threats, it could be social networking, hacking, or insider vulnerability or insider threats. Anything it could related to systems and related to cyber or network infrastructure vulnerabilities. These all fit into incident response. Business continuity is a big umbrella. Inside the subset is disaster recovery. So business continuity is talk about ensure critical business applications are continue during disruptions. For example, let's take very recent example. I start with a story. There is a company, let's say a company called Mango Private Limited. Okay. The Mango Private Limited is located near Punjab in North India. Okay. During the war between India and Pakistan, the disruption in Punjab, government announced to shut the power so that the enemies couldn't see the location or the target points. That's a common notice given by government to shut the light off, power off, so that the enemies couldn't figure out. Now I come to the business part. This Mango Private Limited is in Punjab. Now this company couldn't run the business for 3 days because there is a war alert. The zone is identified as a war prone zone. So anytime war can happen, anytime the country can drop a bomb on that site. So now business is interrupted, right? So what will happen if that company is offering oxygen to hospitals or power to ICUs, or the company is processing critical ticketing system which is used in airports or boarding passes? The service interruption. So this Mango Private Limited not able to continue the service for 3 days. That is outage. That is business outage. Now, to mitigate that outage, you cannot think during the incident. I mean, there is a war announced. Now, Mango Private Limited cannot arrange a meeting and discuss what we can do next. The plan must be prepared in advance. So, the plan is business continuity plan. How I can survive if there is a disruption is coming. Let's say the disruption could be man-made like wars, or it could be natural calamities like earthquake or tsunami, or any other form of natural disasters, or it could be severe security breach. The entire database is corrupted or hacked by the hackers, or other countries attacked their infrastructure over network. So these all fall under business continuity, because business continuity must be planned in advance, not during the incident. So business continuity is ensure critical business functions continue during the disruption. That disruption could be natural disasters or man-made disasters or any cybersecurity incidents. So business continuity plan must be planned ahead. Then disaster recovery. Disaster recovery always talks about IT systems. How fast I can recover the process back. For example, same war situation, Mango Private Limited shut down for 3 days. Let's say worst case, there is a bomb dropped on their infrastructure, the company got completely damaged. Now, after 3 days of the war, the company needs to recover the business, right? To recover that business, what they need to do? They need to recover. They need to restore the backup. They need to plan some other place. They need to start the business again. Otherwise, they will lose the customer reputation and business. Entirely, they will go out of the market. So business will be lost. So that's the impact, right? So disaster recovery always talks about after an incident. Take maybe another incident, maybe in past every year, Chennai like a city, they suffered with the flood. Every time flood happens, there would be a lot of damages inside the companies, or companies shut the premises and located to another location, or they enable the disaster recovery after the flood gone or recovered from that situation. Companies will start resuming the business. While resuming the business, we shouldn't lose any customer data. For example, let's say there is a bank located in Chennai, heavy flood happened, the entire water flooded with that bank, and banks shut down for 15 days. After 15 days, when a customer visits the bank shouldn't say, we have lost your account details or bank balance details, we can't support you. Then what will happen? That would be a damage, right? So the reason I'm talking these all incidents, these all interrelated. So business continuity is an umbrella. That is a high level planning. Within that, we have disaster recovery and incident response. Disaster recovery always talks about recovering the IT services. It could be backup, it could be printer, it could be your telecom infrastructure, it could be your communication collaboration devices between company employees, or laptop restoration. These all fall under disaster recovery. Incident response is always talks about cybersecurity incidents. All right. So you must know about all these three things: incident response, disaster recovery, business continuity plan. What's the purpose? Why we need that plan? What's the importance? If you don't have this plan, what will happen? What are the components present in these three plans? So that's where I put these three criteria. These three criteria applicable for all three topics. So you should know purpose. Let's start with incident response. As I said, incident response related to cybersecurity incidents. Within incident, there are terminologies we should aware of. Let's start with another story. There is a company called Mango Private Limited. That company is processing customers' data through SQL database. The SQL database is collecting the customer information through their website, customer come to their web page through application or a website and fill the form, that form data stored in the SQL database. Now there is an incident happened. There is a hacker intruded into their SQL database, took all the data and encrypted the data, put a message, you send me this much amount of ransom, otherwise I will not give the data. This is the situation. Now, as a security professional or practitioner, how you take this incident? This is a security incident. Now I come to this event. First one, event, an occurrence of an activity on an information system. So the event, each and every activity is logged as an event in systems. Like if you take Windows or Linux or SQL database, whenever someone log into the device, there is an event get generated. There is a user logged on so and so time, there is an event. When there is a data took from the SQL database, let's say they're copying the database to another device, that event get generated. So each and every moment when you operate something on the devices or system, there is an event get created. Next, incident, one or more events that jeopardize the confidentiality, integrity and availability of an asset. If this incident result in unauthorized access to data or a system, it may be referred to as a breach, intrusion, compromise. The same example, now Mango Private Limited found that number of events, disturbed their availability of the data. Now the hacker took the data and encrypted. Now the data no longer available for regular purpose, right? So I mean the customers, when they access through website, they no longer able to see the data or the function is interrupted. Now the events impacted the availability. The SQL database is gone now. It's availability problem. It's impacting confidentiality, integrity, availability. With this, availability is the match here. There is an incident for availability. There is a disturbance for availability. Now exploit, an action or program tool that takes advantage of the system vulnerability. Now, how this hacker came into the system? There could be some first way, right? There could be vulnerability in RTP session, or the user took remote control through some of the vulnerabilities. The user scanned and the hacker found that vulnerability, weakness in the customer facing form. He took the remote control and encrypted the SQL database. So exploited a known vulnerability or used some program to do that. So there is an exploit. Now there is a threat. Now this threat is an event with potential to damage the organization. So it could be cyber attack, social engineering, natural disaster, physical intrusion. So here in this example, it is a cyber attack. The user took event that potentially damaging the organization, because without database we cannot function the organizational function, right? Let's say the company Mango Private Limited is processing the customer data. They're no longer able to process because they took the existing data, the hackers encrypted and put a message asking the ransom. So now threat actors, an individual or a group that has potential damage the organization. So the threat actor is, let's say they found that some hackers from other country, maybe it could be Russia or Korea or some other country, they found based on the public IP. So now the threat actor is a group of people, individual, potential to damage the organization. Now vulnerability. In the incident, there would be a vulnerability. The vulnerability could be in the form, they haven't patched the SQL injection, or the form may have potentially accepted the remote connection through the form through SQL database. That's where the vulnerability got exploited. So these are the terms you should aware of. If someone asks you about what is event in information security, you should tell this definition as it is. You shouldn't modify anything. That's the reason I just put all the statement as it is from the textbook. So event, incident, exploit, threat actors, vulnerability, these are the key components in incident response. So now come to the overall aim for incident response. So stated simply, the primary goal of incident management and incident response to minimize the impact of security incidents on the organization. So come to the same example, Mango Private Limited SQL database got hacked. Now in the same example, as a security professional, how you would react? The event already happened because because of XYZ reason, it is passed. Let's the SQL database gone. Now the goal is to how to gain back the business back to the function, how to recover the data, what hacker took the data, right? So how to react as a security professional, as a security professional, or you are learning for cyber certified in cybersecurity, you should know what are the standard procedure and process used to recover the data or maintain the or get back to the normal mode of the organization. So now, as I said earlier, human life is first. If there is a human life involved in any of the incident, let's say they took some personal data, they are threatening the human, we should protect the human first. If there is a danger for human life, we shouldn't care about anything else, incident or incident process. We should first help the human safety. Next, minimize the downtime and business disruption. Now, this hacker took the SQL database. How to minimize the downtime? Now my web page is down, right? Now I need to recover the web page. Maybe different process we will discuss later, but we need to think about how to recover the business back with less disruption. Next, maintain confidentiality, availability, and integrity. We talked about in the first session and second session about CIA triad. That's the fundamental basic. If you take any attack or any cybersecurity incident, the final stage, we need to recover confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So here we need to make sure the SQL database in the Mango Private Limited is recovered and back to normal function. That's the stage we need to maintain. Then prevent reoccurrence. There is an incident happened, we can't let go like, there is an incident happened, we recovered, we come back to normal mode. We shouldn't leave it like that. There is a lesson learned from that incident, right? So that helps us to prevent that happens from, reoccurrence, or again, that incident shouldn't happen. If they found a SQL injection or any vulnerability that helps hacker to land into the Windows server or SQL server, that must be prevented, right? There would be a control we need to enable because there is an incident already happened. Now we need to prevent that from happening again. Then comply with the legal and regulatory requirements. This comes into businesses like medical hospitals or banking. They follow some regulation or guidelines. So those guidelines must be followed during the security incident. For example, there is a major bank in India. They take care of maybe multiple millions of people's bank records that got breached. Now that bank cannot sit quietly and shouldn't hide the incident. They need to follow the regulatory requirement. As per our RBI guideline, there is a timeline. They need to inform that into government and news agencies or respective external governing body, so that that incident would be published to respective organizations. For example, India, we have Computer Emergency Response Team, which is called CERTIN, that is monitoring all the public infrastructure and private infrastructure operations. So if there is a primary hack happened or incident happened, we need to follow the government legal and regulatory requirement to inform that incident into the government. Who will inform the government? Like, you are an employee, like a normal security analyst or a SOC analyst. Do you call the government and inform, hey, there is an incident? No. There is a communication process. You inform to your manager may inform to your CISO. CISO may take a decision how to approach the respective governing body to inform. So there is an established process defined by the regulatory and law requirement that needs to be followed during the incident. Protect organizational reputation. Now there is a hack happened. Now every news and media, if publish that name in the news channel, what will happen? They lose the business. Now here is the public relationship come into picture. There is a public relationship department in the company. They go and address the news agencies. If it is a big organization, they do press media meet and they will explain, this is what happened, this is the plan for recovering the business, this is the impact, these are the customers impacted. So that's how we need to handle the security incident. So the overall aim, these are the topics we should aware of, why we are doing incident response. Now I come to elements present in the incident response program. Again, I'm repeating, these incident response program or a plan cannot be crafted or drafted during the incident. This must be planned well in advance because the incident can happen anytime. So if you don't have a plan, you don't have a procedure, you don't know, your staffs are not trained how to implement incident response during an incident, it would be major disaster. So again, this policy, plan, procedure and team, this is planned well in advance. So as we develop security incident response program, these are the elements must be present. Like first start with the policy. Policy is just like a statement, purpose of statement, why we are defining a policy. For example, let's go back to the same company, Mango Private Limited. They are hired security operation officer or security officer. Now the security officer given a first task, hey, we are doing a business, collecting some customer data, keep it in SQL database. Now, as a security officer, you need to define a security policy. I mean, incident response policy for this Mango Private Limited. What are the elements you will add? The purpose statement, why I am creating this policy. Then scope, roles and responsibilities, sharing of sensitive incident information. Here, roles. What are the roles or the departments I need to include in the incident response policy? There is a SQL team, there is a maybe networking engineers, there is a front-end developer, maybe management team, multiple department available in Mango Private Limited. That's how the companies are formed. Now, in the incident response policy, the scope, roles and responsibilities, who all are the participants we can share, that information must be documented in this policy. Next, I come to the plan. Plan, we need to keep it on objective, strategy, mission of the plan, list of entities notification, maintaining and improving the plan, flaws, regulations, external standards. So here in the response plan, we need to adhere with respective industry plan. One size will not fit for all. For example, Mango Private Limited created an incident response program. You cannot copy that program to another company and ask them to follow, because let's say Mango Private Limited is a banking sector, they are dealing with some financial transactions, then that cannot fit into healthcare department, right? So that's where the law and regulations differ between the companies. So the company sector wise, we need to customize this plan. So this is not a predefined set. These are the things you need to carry, not like that. These are the baseline. Take this information. You need to draft a plan as a security officer. You need to draft the plan for the company. So at the same time, we need to adhere with the law of the land. For India, you need to follow the Indians' laws. For Europe or US, you need to follow the respective countries' laws while defining the incident response plan. Now, incident response procedure. The procedure, we have NIST given proper procedure. We'll cover that in upcoming slides in detail. But this is step-by-step process. During the incident, what are the procedure the respective teams should follow? Like SOC team, what are the roles and responsibilities they would follow? Network engineer or network administrator, what are the steps they need to follow? Public customer relationship manager or the team who is handling the press and media, what are the information they need to follow? These are the checklist prepared as part of the response procedure. Then incident response team. The incident response team, which includes multiple roles and departments, as while defining this policy or a response program, we pick multiple people from different teams so that each and everyone would understand what are the scope, what are the things they will do as part of incident response program. For example, same Mango Private Limited, there is a SQL administrator, there is a network administrator, there is a public relationship officer who is handling the press and media. So now these three people or multiple team work together to handle the incident response. The incident response is not a single guy like a security officer going to handle. There are multiple people work together to mitigate the incident and recover the business. So now come to the incident response program. When there is an incident, there is a process, proper process we need to follow. So multiple central bodies developed these policies. For example, preparation, detection and analysis, containment, eradication and recovery, post-incident activity. I would ask you to remember this flow in order. Like if someone asks you about, tell me incident response process as per NIST, Computer Security Incident Handling Guide, SP 80061, you may not see this question from the exam, but you must know which one is the last, which one is the middle, or which one is the first one. If you take any incidents, we need to prepare. First preparation, I mean the response, incident response process, preparation, detection and analysis, then containment, eradication, recovery, post-incident activity. We'll deep dive into each and every statement. So the first one is about preparation. Planning and preparation must be done before, well in advance, like create policies, get support, build awareness, acquire tools. So same example, Mango Private Limited, SQL database hacked by the hacker and they took the data. Now come to the planning and preparation. This incident happened, let's say today, but your incident planning and preparation maybe happened maybe 6 months ago, because you created the security response, incident response policy, you get management support and funding, you have built awareness across all the team, your security team, network team or public relationship manager, all aware there is a policy exist which I need to follow during the incident. So this is like you are preparing for a disaster. You are preparing for a major disturbance from the field, because anytime the security incident can happen. Now next, second step is detection. So here detection fall under the second one, detection and analysis. Detection, define event versus incident, detect, validate and prioritize. The second step only, the SOC team come into picture. The Security Operations Center collect all the logs from the multiple devices, user device, it could be network devices such as router, switches or firewall proxies. They collect all the logs and they correlate if there is a vulnerability or how the hacker get into the system. This is reactive. I mean, the incident already happened, logs are collected, now SOC team is monitoring, right? Now that what they need kind of a SIM solution, like the event monitoring system, which is called SIEM, that needs to be implemented, that logs are collected from all the equipments, include user PC, firewall, network, SQL database. They correlate the logs and identify the incident. So for that you need SOC team, you need a SIM solution as a tool. Then you need to define, if regular employee log into the SQL, you cannot treat that as an incident, right? You call it as an event. There is a user, legit user logged into the SQL database. So you need to define which one is incident, which one is just an event. So event always happening, but incident only happens if there is a disruption to the business or CAA triad. Now containment. Now there is an incident detected. Let's say the SQL database for the Mango Private Limited hacked and encrypted. Now how the security team could respond, right? Now containment, analysis, tracking and recovery. So execute containment plan. Take that SQL server out of the network. Then they will check whether when the last backup was taken. If there was a backup, they will restore and resume the business. They will not pay the ransom. Paying ransom is not at all recommended in enterprises, because we should prepare the plan in ahead. So no need to pay the ransom, because backup is continuously happening. If the backup SQL database is available, they can quickly recover from the another location or wherever the backup is stored. Then they need to initiate the business continuity and root cause analysis, right? So that will fall under containment and eradication process. Then post-incident assessment. What happens after incident? So conduct post-mortem. The post-mortem is a hierarchical investigation. The timestamp when the hacker entered to the system, how the hacker entered, which is the front door, what time system, got accessed by hacker, which IP the hacker is come from. Like the postmortem reports are clearly, formed and prepared. Then course corrective action. This is how the hacker entered into the system. So we need to shut the door or disable the port in the firewall, or hardening the OS, or applying the patch. There could be some sort of course correction happens after an incident that must be done. Then incident closure, finally we need to close the incident by preparing a report and preparing root cause analysis clearly, sending to the respective stakeholders. That's how one incident get closed. So these are the things happening if there is an incident happens to the company. Since most of them are students, you might have heard about bug bounty programs conducted by multiple companies, right? The moment you submit, find a bug and submitting any security related bug, these are the things happens in the back end. You are treated as a external hacker. You are reporting to the company. Now company will give you the bounty. At the same time, company will enable the security incident policy to assess each and every stage, how you identified, the time you executed the code or SQL injection. Then have they identified any potential exploits, then they will containment, then they do post incident assessment and course correction, they fix the bug, then incident closure happens, then they will pay you the bounty. This is for a good thing, right? Bug bounty is helping them to strengthening their security posture. But imagine if it is a hacker, real hacker, like to disturb the business, then what will happen? It would be business loss. So that will be treated with high priority. Again, the severity of the incident is one thing we like to talk. If it is a major severity P1, P2, P3, they classify, and accordingly, they define the incident response plan. Okay, now time to have a quiz. So take your chat and figure out which one could be correct. Let me read out. Jason is a monitoring his organization's SIEM system, watching for signs of unusual activity. Which phase of the NIST incident response process best describe this work? So you remember there was a slide I have shown the NIST framework. First was preparation, then detection analysis, post-incident activity, I mean in between containment and eradication. SIEM fall under which phase of the process? Maybe go ahead and take chat and answer. All right, so everyone is taking the same answer, whether it's right or wrong. That's the right answer. Detection and analysis fall under SOC team. The SOC team is going to use the SIM solution to analyze. It's a reactive activity, right? The post incident, they correlate the logs and identify security incidents. So detection and analysis is the right framework. Imagine this is how you will expect question from the exam among the NIST framework, from first preparation, detection analysis, containment, eradication, post-incident activity. Maybe you can twist the question like when you will prepare incident report, then the answer would be post-incident activity, right? So you just think about one is right answer, but what about rest three? Which question those three answers will fit in? That's how you can improve the your self clarity. If you see among other three wrong answers, if you see anything related to this topic, go and learn about that answer, so that within single question you are getting three more questions. So that way you will be clear and sorted with all the topics you are learning. So now let's start with the next one. During his monitoring work, Jason identifies a high priority security incident in progress. What should be his first priority? So Jason is a SOC engineer. He's while working, he found a major security high priority incident. What he will do? So take the chat and respond. Okay, so for this question, I will apply one by one how I answer this question. Identifying lesson learned. This will not be the answer because Jason already identified there is a high priority security incident happening in progress. So the incident happening in progress, he hasn't learned fully. He doesn't know when it started, what's happening, when it's going to end, what data stolen, those things he doesn't know. He just know high priority security incident is in progress, happening. The hacking is happening through logs. Now, identifying lesson learned, not matching, because identifying lesson learned is a last process. Notifying senior management. Whenever there is an incident, every time if you call your senior manager and your management, they will fed up with about your work, they will replace you. So there is a chance you get fired. So second is not a right answer. Recovering normal operations. So recovering normal operation also not a right answer, because even we don't know the business impact. He just identified a high priority security incident happening. Recovering to normal operation only comes if completely understand the damage. So the damage is not yet identified. So 3 not applicable. The fourth one is the answer, because he identified there is a hacking happening. He is going to apply the containing the damage. Containing means isolating or instructing respective team to isolate that particular device from the network, or follow the incident response plan to shut the device, or whatever as per the plan, if based on the device impacted. If it is a SQL database, they cannot shut on the live. There would be some process. They may understand what's happening. If there is a backup, they route the traffic to other backup SQL server. They take the server from the pool out and they mitigate. If there is a router or switches compromised, they figure out if they replace that router, what will happen, or do they have any high availability router, so that the first router, the impacted router, can be taken out. If there is a Windows PC, there are solutions like EDR, XDR solutions can be installed. The antivirus will isolate the PC from the network. So those things will be followed. So that fall under containing the damage. So containing the damage is the right answer. So to answer this question, you need to take 1.2 minutes. That's the time limit we have for the exam. So the quick way you can think of among 4 answers, rule out one by one, then apply the theory what you have learned, identify which one is the best answer while responding. So now come to incident response procedure, as I don't like to modify the statement. So as same as statement given by the textbook, I put this. So incident response procedures are documented step-by-step process. Incident response procedure documented step-by-step. What you should do during the security incident. What you should do if there is a hacking happened. These are the security incident. You should know step-by-step process on how specific incident response tasks are to be performed based on the requirement set forth in the incident response policy and plan. The policy and plan prepared well in advance, so that you should know the policy exists, there is a plan also there. In some cases, incident response procedures are integrated into incident response plan. In other cases, they are separate documents. Incident response procedures cover the technical process, tools and techniques, and checklist used by incident response personnel. So during incident, there are tools can be used like antivirus, EDR tools, SIM solutions, SOC team. Multiple tools could be used. These all are documented well advanced how that tool could be used during a security incident. It is important that incident response procedures are detailed but also clear and can followed during the heat of the moment when an incident is occurring. So the plan must be planned or documented well advanced. The teams or the team members must aware of the plan, educated. They must have training on that plan, how to react well advanced. If they don't know about security incident procedure or plan, what to do during the security incident, that will be a big mess, because they create incident into worst situation. It is like you are not prepared, there is an accident happened, what would you do? Because often I correlate our regular life planning. Let's say you are traveling to maybe a vacation or planning to visit XYZ places. Something bad happened on the way. If you don't have backup plan or extra money to cover your expenses, you are in a disturbed situation, right? So same goes to the business. So these are the set of predefined procedure and process that must be followed as per the industry standard, so that these are well proven or tested, validated by various industry experts and SMEs, so they can vouch these are the right process we need to follow to sustain or recover the business during bad time. So now let's switch the topic to business continuity plan. So business continuity plan, as I said, it's a big umbrella. It's a overall. Now let's forget about security incident. Now come to entire business. So now let's again start with another story. Same company, Mango Private Limited. Now Mango Private Limited security officer. You are appointed as a security officer. Now Mango Private Limited CEO or the management asked you to prepare business continuity plan. That's not the real case, because as a security officer you are not responsible for preparing business continuity plan, because as a security officer you are only have security controls, not other business controls, right? That's where business continuity plan prepared by different people together. Business unit leaders, maybe CEO, CISO, CIO, CFO, the directors or board members are involved in the business unit leaders, respective business unit leaders. Then senior management must be involved, IT department must be there, security department also there, facilities department, like the people managing the building, premises, access, people are there. Then facility department, public relations and communication department, human resources, HR department, legal, lawyers, or respective governing bodies are included in the business continuity plan. So business continuity plan is a wider one. I used to say umbrella, right? So it's a big one. Inside that you have disaster recovery and incident response plan. So you think like, I need to protect my entire organization from disturbance. That disturbance could be cybersecurity or natural calamities like earthquake or tsunami kind of disasters, or floods, or man-made major attacks like a war or someone entered into the premises and damaged the servers. So these all are considered as a disturbance or threats to the business. Those things will be covered in business continuity plan as a whole. So these are the leaders from respective department involved in the business continuity plan preparation. So if someone asks you who is responsible for preparing business continuity plan, you shouldn't say security professional or security engineer or security officer. Business continuity plan prepared together from multiple departments, include business unit, senior management, respective departments. So now come to business continuity plan high level flow. First, continuity planning and initiation. So planning, as I said, the planning phase respective departments, multiple people involved to prepare. For example, the business located in Chennai, every year in the city Chennai, there is a flood happening. That flood lasts for 7 days. During that 7 days, employee cannot come to office. The office normal function cannot happen. There is a customer impact projected. This is the problem statement, or it's located to geo, like specific geo. Let's say take maybe a war enabled zone. Let's say Russia and Ukraine, there is a war continuously happening more than 3 years. Now these 3 years, if there is a business unit there in Ukraine or Russia, they must have planned long-term business continuity plan. Whenever there is a war announced in that location, they enable that plan so that the business will impacted or will not impacted, or less damage may happen because they are planning well ahead. Same come to the local example, which is Chennai flood example. Every year, 7 days, confidently we can say during heavy rain season, business will get impacted. Now, we keep that in mind. We are preparing a business continuity plan. There is a senior manager or a project respective department leaders combined together, and they are come together and preparing this business continuity plan. They define the scope. What is the scope? What is the sizing? What roles and responsibilities each one have? Let's say HR department. The moment business continuity plan is activated, HR department will send a notice or email to all the employees. Dear employees, XYZ time or date, Chennai going to hit a heavy rain, flood going to happen, you will continue to work from home. That mail come from HR. How it will come? The business continuity plan is initiated. HR was aware. If that is initiated, that email to be communicated to all the employees. Now, let's say worst case, the business cannot run. Users cannot work from home because some factories cannot be done work from home. IT companies we can do, but consider there is a factory, they are making maybe milk supply. They produce milk, they get it from the farmers and distribute to all the people. Maybe you can find in Tamil Nadu, it is Avin, right? Avin is a centralized milk distributor. Now during flood, heavy rain, factories cannot run. From farmers, milk cannot be obtained. Now there is a disruption. We cannot supply milk to the people. Now customer or the as a employer, Avin should announce that information to customers through news media or radio or whatever communication available during that incident time. Let's say Avin cannot function for XYZ reason due to flood or heavy rain, we cannot supply the milk. Now that is the scope. That is the now the roles and responsibility here. HR involved, public communication team involved, maybe the respective factory leaders, maybe factory manager or operation managers are involved. The team going to collect the milk from the farmers involved. So the team work together and creating this scope for the business continuity plan and develop the policy. So if there is a flood happening year on year, they learned from the natural disasters. Now they prepared this plan. So now they formatted this plan and sent for management approval. That is the first step. So they defined during incident, this is how we need to react. This is how we need to inform the customers. This many days, the factories will be shut. Employees are instructed to stay in safe at home. So they will not run into any other problem while working on the factories. So they will not come to work. So that's the planning initiation, and that get approved. Then identify critical functions and supporting resources, calculate the risk, identify vulnerability and threats. I come to the same example, the milk supplier example. Now, critical function. You can say critical function, if there is no milk obtained from the farmers, no resource to the factory. So they cannot pack the milk. They don't have milk. The source of the factory, the source for the factory is the milk. Now milk is not available. That's the critical function. Collecting milk from the farmers is the critical function for that business. If you take other business, let's say hospital. Hospital may have power, ICU need 24/7 power and oxygen supply. If that is not there due to flood or XYZ reason, the impact is ICU patients are in critical condition, they may lose their lives. So now that is the critical function for hospital. If you take bank, Bank may run online because bank can shut for any days, but still there are locker services, there are critical loan approval process may get delayed. There would be slight less impact, but still that impact the businesses and other rest of their customers. Now they need to calculate the risk, identify the vulnerabilities and threats. Now vulnerability, my bank is located in Chennai. Chennai has every year there is a flood possibility. That is the threat. Now vulnerability, our office located in maybe low level area, entire office may get flooded. That is the vulnerability, the weakness. What weakness you have. So now these are considered in the business impact analysis. Then implement controls and mitigate risk. How to mitigate? Now the milk supplier problem. Let's say the factory located in Chennai, they can open another factory in nearby district, maybe nearby Viluppuram or nearby town they can open. They can supply it through maybe mobility services during the flood. They can send it through any government supported vehicles like army or a police support. They can distribute the milk, right? That way they can identify controls. They can implement the controls to mitigate the risk. Now come to business process recovery and facility and site recovery and develop and recovery strategy solution. So once the flood happened, how to recover the business. So imagine this scenario in multiple businesses and factories or different sectors, depends on the multiple incidents. It's always not flood, right? It could be earthquake, it could be tsunami kind of incident, or major cyber attack. You might have remember last year the CrowdStrike major cybersecurity incident happened on all the devices unable to connect. So those type of business impacted incident you need to keep in mind while reading business continuity plan as a whole. Then user environment recovery. After flood, what is the user communication? Who will inform the user to come back to the office after weather set well and no rains, water drained and recovered the business, user locations are safe and clean, user can come back and work. That is fall under user environment recovery. Next, develop the plan. They need to develop the documents, recovery solutions, each and every one responsibilities. Who will communicate to the employee, who will communicate to the customers, who will take care of the office premises, who will take care of the supplying or enabling milk from nearby district to the suppliers. These are documented in advance, so that the incident will not impact or reduce. We can reduce the impact certain level. Next, checklist for testing. So how to test? There is a process. You cannot say we have a plan, but the moment incident happens, if you haven't tested in past, you run into another problem, because the plan you have prepared well, but the plan's flaws and missed things will come to know only while testing, right? That's where testing is important. It could be any development or it could be anything. We need to test before get into the production, right? Similarly, if you develop any business continuity plan, that must be tested. The testing will cover it in later. There are steps we need to follow while testing the business continuity plan. Then modify, maintain, train the personnel, or the final one, maintain the plan. You need to modify if there is things missed. How to modify? You need to work together with multiple team and get their feedback. Then we need to modify the plan if something is missing. For example, employee communication is missing after the incident, returning to the work. If that piece is not there, when the employee come to know office is ready for the work. So that way we need to include, HR team should inform the employees after the flood recovered, offices are ready, when they can inform the employees to come back. So then train the personnel. Training is important. We need to train the employees about this is the business continuity plan. This is how we need to react during the plan when that get initiated. So now come to impact analysis. Impact analysis is one of the process here. So during second phase, business impact analysis. So identify the critical function without the resources. How long the company can withstand without factory running. Maybe there would be a cold storage. They keep it for 2 days. They have buffer, like they can keep in the same example, the milk factory can store the milk for maybe 2 to 3 days. So that milk can be used to supply and meet the demand. Then MTD, maximum tolerable downtime. For example, if the factory shut for 24 hours, is that acceptable if there is enough milk in the cold storage and that can be used to meet the demand, so no business impact, so they continue to give or serve the people. So MTD is maximum tolerable downtime. So this could be applicable for multiple factories, like how long my business can disrupt without any customer impact. So for example, you are operating continuously operating a printer. If they stop the printer, maybe the user's boarding pass will not be given. Now imagine your printer stopped working for 3 hours. The 3 hours, people who are boarding into the flight, they don't have printed boarding pass. There is an impact. What tolerable downtime? You don't have downtime because it's a zero, because you cannot stop the service. If that service stopped, the users directly getting impacted. So MTD differs with the respective industry and sector. So we need to understand how long the business can withstand without the service. So identify the vulnerabilities, threats. That also depends on the sector. In the milk processing factory, the vulnerability threats are the threats we need to identify depends on the historical data. If it is flood, if it is earthquake, if it is a man-made war zone, these all are taken as a threat and the business continuity plan prepared accordingly. Then calculate the risk for each business function. So calculating the risk, how long the business can withstand, how long time will take to inform the user and users get the message and come back to the work, how long will it take to operate the machine again, how long will it take to go to the farmers and collect the milk. These all are considered to calculate the risk. Then identify the recovery priorities, how to recover. While recovering, which one I need to do first, which one I need to do later. So these are the things we need to keep in mind. Then develop recovery strategies and solutions, business process recovery, facility recovery, data processing recovery, communication recovery, data recovery, user environment recovery, supply chain recovery. I will cover each and everything in detail, like business process recovery. So if you take any business, there is a process defined. There is a department, there is an entry, there is a security guard, there are multiple other departments work together to produce something. If you go back to same example, the milk factory collect the milk, processed it, and producing multiple products. It could be curd or milk or ice cream or the dairy products all together, right? So multiple department work together and producing the product. Now facility recovery, if the factory ended up get flooded with water, how facility department will release the water outside and make that environment ready for the work. So there is a facility team should work together to recover. So then data processing recovery. There is a data, for example, how suppliers are getting money or order, how the customers are placing the order, how the booth agencies are placing the order to get the milk. These are under data processing. If systems are down due to flood or no power supply, then no point of running the business, right? So then data recovery, we need to recover the backup data. If there is an outage or middle of the day, flood happened, there would be that particular day data might have lost. Then we need to recover the data from the backup if available. Then user environment, we need to recover all the environment. Supply chain recovery, the vendor or a supplier or how the farmers are giving the milk to the factory. These are supply chain to be followed. Then I like to highlight these three terminologies: RTO, RPO, and WRT. As a security professional, you are preparing for certified in cybersecurity exam, you must know these three terminologies clearly, right? Recovery time objective. This is the time target for restoring a business process or service after a disruption caused by a disaster or security event. This may be expressed in hours, days, or even weeks, depending on the business function. So the time target for restoring a business process or a service after a disruption. In the same example, after a flood, how long will it take to recover the business? That is what recovery time objective. So the recovery time objective is important when you are planning for business continuity plan. So the time target, this is the time target. Let's say the flood happened. I started business continuity plan. The plan will execute and recover back the business. The recovery time object, that's what the target for restoring the business. Maybe let's say a flood happened. There is a dependency, the flood happened, continuously raining. Once the rain stops, then only you can recover the buildings. There is a dependency. Now, the recovery time objective may be 1 week. The first day flood is happening, after followed by 6 days or 7 days, you can recover the business. During that time, you need to follow the business continuity plan to come to this normal business. Then recovery point objective, which is RPO. This is the amount of data that is acceptable to be lost in the event of disaster. For example, midday around 1 p.m. Heavy flood happened. Since morning, there are some entries taken in the system that must be locally stored, not in the SQL database or any backup not taken. So the moment incident happened, the entire day data might have lost. Maybe previous day data might be taken back up, they can restore. But since midnight, 12 a.m. to 1 p.m., the incident happened, around maybe 12 hours data could lost, right? So that is what recovery point objective, that amount of data that is acceptable to be lost. That data lost, you cannot recover. That day, whoever placed the order or whoever paid the money, that transaction may not be stored in any of the system. So this is applicable for multiple environment. For example, take ticket booking application. After 12 o'clock, whatever tickets placed order, that they lose after a same day incident. So they must set recovery point objective. Whenever money involved, recovery point objective is very less or zero, because whenever you make a transaction, the transaction stored in 4 different data center, could be across the globe, Europe, US, India or Japan. Different countries, they pass the information and keep it stored in the immediately the moment you made the transaction. For example, you transact some money to someone, the transaction information, the sender or receiver information, the amount you are sending, which account you are sending, from which account you are transacting, these informations are stored for different countries or for different geolocation to avoid or improving the recovery point objective. The recovery point objective, when it is zero, they will not worry, because for example, around afternoon 4 p.m. flood happened for a bank. The entire bank flooded with water. Now what will happen? Since morning to that 4 p.m., whoever made the transaction in the bank will be lost, right? To avoid that impact, they store the transaction live in all different locations. So the PCs and systems in the bank are dummy systems. They will not store anything locally. Whenever they make any transaction, that gets stored in different locations. So that way, recovery point objective could be less. So work recovery time, this is the amount of time to restore the data and perform testing to ensure the capability is fully operational. So the work recovery time, let's say after you restore the backup, but you need to test, right? You restore the right backup, you need to restore the right level of backup, or right day you have restored, right? Let's say while restoring you made a human error. You, instead of yesterday's backup, you restored the previous week backup, then what will happen? You lost 1 week data. So there is a testing after recovering. So the work recovery time is something, the moment you test and confirmed the data restored correctly, ready to work. That's the amount of time to restore the data and perform testing to ensure the capability is fully operational. So these 3 terminologies you must aware. There are questions you may expect from the exam. Next, high availability and fault tolerance. High availability, the name indicates how to take high availability by keeping redundant systems. It could be web server, it could be router and switches, or it could be laptop. Giving more than one is a redundancy, so high availability. If one is failing, another one will take care. This is more suitable in web server scenarios. For example, if there is a web server running on single web server, if there is a power outage happened on that web server, what will happen? The power outage impact the web server, right? So there is an outage. If there is another server running same website content with the load balancer, then if one is down, the another one will take care, right? So this is another example. So if whenever you have seen high availability, that is talking about redundant system or redundant services in terms of supporting the outages. Then fault tolerance, within the system itself there is a fault tolerance. For example, not sure how many of you noticed, if you take any desktop PCs, you might have seen two power cord in the back end. One is used, one is never used in houses, but in enterprises, they give two supply to the laptop, because if one supply is gone, another one will take care. So redundant power supply, which is inside the system, which is fault tolerance. If the system itself, the fault tolerance is inbuilt, then that has the ability to withstand if a process or a system failure, that can mitigate the outage. So power supply giving UPS and a normal power grid in one connection to two connection to a system will sustain with the fault tolerance. Then storage and media. Now come to storage. When it comes to storage, when you take backup, we have primarily two things we need to understand: RAID 0 and RAID 5. RAID 0 is just a mirroring. Whatever copy, whatever backup you are taking, that is a replica of the primary data, just mirroring, right? But RAID 5, you have three options, right? Three disks available in the RAID 5 mode. So the moment they take backup, the backup stored in disk 1, disk 2, some parity information would be there, some disk 3, some other information would be there. That is how RAID 5 would work. For RAID 5 to work, minimum you need 3 disks. Otherwise, you cannot do RAID 5. RAID 0, you need only 2 disks. One primary, one is backup. So the primary data taken into the another disk. So RAID 0 is a replica of the primary data. RAID 5, you have backup plus parity data stored in the RAID. So since you are from computer department, you might know well aware about various RAID system available. Make sure RAID 0 and RAID 5, you should thoroughly understand and fully know how it is doing, how it is taking the backup, because you may expect some questions from RAID 0 and RAID 5 in terms of storage and media fault tolerance. Network components like Wi-Fi or NIC interface, network interface cards. You may have two network interface cards, like the server comes with the two RJ45 port or two serial ports. If one port is down, another port will take care. So that is NIC teaming already there in the servers and networking devices. Multiple routers, placing multiple routers so that if one router RAM or any hardware failure, the another router will take care, so the routing outage will not happen. Switches, implementing high availability switches, multiple switches, so that it will communicate together, the heartbeat check. If one switch is down, the another one will take care of the traffic. So network components must be planned in redundant. So high availability and fault tolerance is another topic under business continuity plan, because let's say you have single power source from Tamil Nadu electricity board. If that electricity board faced more than 8 hours outage, now you may not able to run the business, right? So what you need uninterrupted power supply, or you need solar power grid or some other source to support your business. So because there are business you can run without power from the government or a primary grid, but certain time period, because you have UPS, maybe UPS backup the factory for maybe 3-4 hours. After that you may go with a generator or some other source. So that's planned well in advance. So the power supply is also part of business continuity plan, how you will handle if there is a severe power supply issues for weeks or 8 hours or more than a day, how you are going to take care of the business. So the common approach, they use uninterrupted power supply. Everyone's aware what is uninterrupted power supply, keeping a battery or a respective device that will sense if the primary grid power is down, that will switch to the battery power supply. Now dual socket or power distribution units, within the system, two power cable will come, one plugged to common grid, another one is battery. So if one is down, the another one will take care. Then power distribution units, You can have separate power distribution private unit like generator or private units by keeping private infrastructure for producing the power in large scale. For example, if you take any big factories, they may keep big generators or a power producing unit to produce enough power. If primary grid is down, they will not disturb the manufacturing process, so that will continue to run. So that is also part of business continuity plan. So let's start with the quiz. This answer which I just spoke while explaining the RAID concept. Rini would like to add fault tolerance to the storage capacity of a new server that she is building. She would like to use RAID 5 to protect the server. What is the smallest number of physical disks that she can use? So the question is RAID 5, how many disks you need? That's the question, but one hint is what is the smallest number? So you read the question again, figure out what is the twist present in this question. So the first statement is just a message. The last line is the primary twist. What is the smallest number of physical disks? So just take the chat and respond. All right, there are answers. Come on, guys. So the question is RAID 5. What is the smallest minimum number of disk we need to start RAID 5? I believe total 35 people in the call. Just I got only 4 response. I feel like not attentive or you guys don't know the answer. It's feel free to just send wrong answer. That's fine, because I just want to get you a engagement, like you are here and listening. So that you understand the concepts better while reading or going through the ISC2 live training. So most of them following the same answer. Yes, that's the right answer. To implement RAID 5, you need minimum 3 disk, maximum there is no limit. You can keep it maybe 128 could be the max number, I believe, but minimum is number 3. Without 3 disk, you cannot start the RAID 5 storage for fault tolerance. The reason behind that, RAID 5, you have primary, there is a backup, there is another parity disk. So these 3 work together and keep the backup. So minimum you need 3 disks to implement RAID 5. All right, so we'll move on to next question. So Kevin is designing a new web server environment for his organization. So reading again, Kevin is designing a new web server for his organization. He believes that the service will need 3 servers to support normal traffic levels and decide to use 3 servers to meet that need. As requests come in, they will be sent the server that has the most available capacity. Which term best describes what Kevin is doing? So figure out among 4 answers, is that fault tolerance, is that high availability, or dual power supplies, or load balancing? You just try to eliminate one by one. That's how you need to practice for exam. Try to eliminate first wrong answers, then figure that out which one could be the right one. So Kevin is designing a web server, believes that the service will need 3 servers to support normal traffic level. So the twist is here, need 3 servers to support normal traffic level. So there is a normal traffic level. What is that? That is the load. Maybe they are building a server, they found more number of customers. Take Amazon as an example. During peak sale season, Amazon hit with flooded traffic. So one server not enough. So they found 3 servers they need to support the service. Use these servers to meet the need. As requests come in, they will send the server that has the most available capacity. So the request sent to most available one. So among 3 servers, uh, whenever user access the web page or a service, that will be passed to the best available server, so that the web page is served quickly to the user. Which term the Kevin is doing here? Fault tolerance, number one is not the right answer, because here we are not talking about the fault. There is no fault. The problem statement here is we need 3 servers to support normal traffic. So need 3 servers. High availability, yeah, could be right answer. High available, because when they have more than one server, they are making sure high availability. But high availability can be done with just 2 servers, right? So why they need 3? So the twist here is they need 3 to meet the normal traffic level. So dual power supply is out of scope, because we are not talking about power supply at all in the question. So it's odd one, we can eliminate. Then the load balancing is the fourth one. That is the right answer, because most of them reported or posted rightly. Load balancing, because the normal traffic load they assessed in past, based on that they identified the server, we need 3 servers. So how to distribute the traffic, which one is best available based on the health of the server, how much memory used, how much CPU used. These are continuously monitored. Based on the best available server, the load balancer will route the traffic. So load balancing is the right answer for this question. So this is how you need to eliminate, but you need to be much faster. That's why you need to prepare more questions. If you take 5 to 700 questions, you will be familiar with how to eliminate the bad answers. Then you will be master to resolve within 1.2 minutes. All right, before go to the next topic, we'll take a quick break. This time I take maybe 3 minutes short break, as we are running out of time. So we'll cover this topic post break.
Sir. Sir, I'm audible, sir.
Yes, Gautami, go ahead.
Sir, actually, this week I have attended that domain once, studied the modules
Yeah.
in the security principles. I have visited the tab one by one. I have studied the materials given in the page, or else in some little page the video is given, and I have visited everything, but in my page the progress to competency is somewhat 100, and the score is also mentioned, but in the content coverage, I am getting 51%. I don't know why I'm getting that 51. I have visited all the things in a only. I'm not reading many of the pages actually, but I'm getting only 51%. I don't know why, and what all the pages I have missed.
Okay. So
Sir, am I
yeah,
audible?
you're
Sir,
audible. I understood the question. You have completed.
sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are. You are. So you are audible. Probably I will cover this question while wrapping the call. Let's continue with the next topic, but I will make sure I will cover end of the session. So start with the disaster recovery. As I said, beginning of the call, disaster recovery is subset of business continuity plan. Business continuity is a big umbrella. Under that, we have disaster recovery and incident response. Now, disaster recovery is a subset of business continuity activities
Okay,
designed to
sir.
restore business to normal operations as quickly as possible following a disruption. There is a disaster happened. I come to same example. There was a flood happened in Chennai. Now we need to restore the business as quick as possible because the disruption is flood. We need to restore the business as quick as possible. Hurricane or technological failure such as power outage, health emergency as such as COVID pandemic, or hazard caused by humans such as ransomware attack. These are general attack or disaster which we may anticipate and expect while running the business. So quickly recognize the circumstances and activate its corresponding disaster recovery plan. So as part of business continuity plan, we should mention when we need to activate the business continuity plan. As part of business continuity plan, disaster recovery plan get kicked in. For example, same example, the milk production unit impacted with flood. Now, after the flood, we need to recover the business quick. So the recovery steps, how to recover the business, how to recover the HR department, or how to inform the user come back to the office or a factory to work. These are things documented in well advance. So disaster recovery, the moment kick in, disaster recovery plan will get activated, and that will follow the respective process to inform respective people or technology to get that recovered. So in primarily disaster recovery talks about IT systems, how to recover web server, how to recover computers, how to recover if the factory using smart equipments connected to IoT, OT devices, right? So IT facility recovery, we have primarily three site: hot site, warm site, cold site. As a security professional, you must aware what is hot site, what is warm site, what is cold site. So during flood, for example, your factory has office in Chennai as well as Viluppuram. Both are nearby, maybe 3 hours away between the two location. The moment Chennai location hit with the flood, you are immediately informing all your factory workers, employees to come to Viluppuram to work for 7 days. Company will pay the hotel accommodation or whatever expenses recurring for a movement, so that safely employees can work in Viluppuram, which is not going to impacted by the flood. That is called hot site. Hot site is ready with the same data, equipment, backup, everything is ready. Instead of going to office A, you are going to office B, which is away from the disaster location. That is what hot site. Hot site is expensive because you are managing the secondary office, office B in Viluppuram, with necessary office location, space, and hotel reimbursement. I mean, you are supporting the employees overstay in the next nearest location. This will incur the business expensive, but your business will not be interrupted. So hot site is one option. Whenever there is a possibility, companies will go with hot site. If a company is making business critical, then they will keep a hot site or alternate processing facility. So that is what hot site. What is warm site? Warm site may have power supply, may have systems, but they may not have the data to run the business immediate basis. For example, office A interrupted with flood. Now users are informed to go to office B, which is, let's say, warm site situation. Warm site doesn't have the data up to date. They need to restore the backup data so that whenever employee come to site B, they can continue to work. So site has power, HVAC systems, physical infrastructure, possibly telecommunication and peripheral equipments, but computers, network devices, software, people, backup must be installed. So the computer, network devices, software, people, and data backups must be installed, which is not there in the warm site. So warm site is an empty building which has maybe the basic amenities like power, HVAC, cooling system, physical infrastructure like table, chairs, possibly telecommunication, mobile phone, or whatever the communication equipments are there, but they don't have computer, they don't have data, they don't have people to operate the site quickly. So warm site may take time, like weekly or 15 days time it may take to recover the business. But hot site is immediate. Hot site is T2, like copy, replica of the primary site. Everything is loaded, ready. Whenever the primary site is out, we inform the employees to come to site B, which is hot site. We can easily swap. Warm site, you cannot swap like that because you have some plan, but it's not ready up to date. You need to restore the backup, you need to install the computer, some devices and backups or router switches. Then only you can bring up the warm site to do working state. So warm site may have some time to recover the business. Cold site is a site essentially empty building without any equipment or infrastructure. It may have basic electrical wiring, plumbing, flooring, but some construction is required to bring the equipment, bring the people, bring the systems back. So let me complete with what all are the scenarios this can be used. This will be depends on your business value. If you are dealing high critical business, then hot site is the right approach. If you are dealing with a medium size business which you can impact, can be tolerated more than week, if your service is impacted, no one will care, then you can go with warm site because after a week you can recover the business. Cold site is just a name shake. You have nothing. It may take 3 months, 6 months to recover the business because primary site is down or out due to war or flood, or cannot be in the non-recoverable state. Now you have only the land and the building. You don't have nothing. You need to build it. It may take 8 months to 1 year. So these are the strategies companies will build while developing disaster recovery. So you must aware what is hot site, what is warm site, what is cold site. That is the key objective for this session. Then disaster recovery metrics. Again, I am repeating these three terminology you should aware of: recovery time objective, recovery point objective, recovery service level. First two which we already covered. The recovery service level is the percentage of the service that must be available during a disaster. For example, you might set RSL for your website 50%, recognizing that diminished capacity is acceptable during a disaster response. So this is, for example, same example, the milk product outage. The dairy production unit impacted with flood, now they have maybe cold storage that can provide milk for 2 days. So their recovery service level maybe 75%. They can run the business 75%. Maybe 25% of the demand cannot be fulfilled because they are using the storage to supply the milk. That also withstand 2 days. If flood continues more than 2 days, they lose the business or they impact the consumer will not get the milk. Similarly, if you can apply the same concept in other industry, banking or a hospital or healthcare or ticket booking system or airport. So you can apply any industry, this is applicable. Because let's say take example, instead of dairy storage or dairy production unit, instead take airport. Entire airport closed due to flood for 1 week. After a week, they need to restore the service. So now, during the flood, their recovery service level is 0 because no flight can, depart or arrive due to heavy flood. So recovery service level for this industry is 0, but maybe some other industry, the healthcare industry, maybe 50-75% they can accommodate because of the emergency situation or human life involved. So they would operate even in the disaster, even in the war zone, there are hospitals still functioning, right? So same applicable here. So you can just imagine different industry and apply what is RTO, what is RPO, what is RSL, so that you will, whenever you apply this knowledge, that terminologies, you will remember. So read more than one time during a week, maybe 8 hours once or 12 hours once. You just repeat for 3-4 days, you will be familiar with these terminologies, because exam point of view, if they put RTO, you should know what it is, how to apply it in the scenario questions. So then backup side, backup types, while taking backup, so you may need to understand what is full backup, what is differential backup, incremental backup. So full backup, the name indicates everything will be backup. Differential backup, only the difference. The first day the full backup taken, next day only the difference will be taken. The incremental backup is something, similar to differential backup, but slight difference. It only keep add on the incremental value, whatever new data are written, that get, backed up. So you understand about different backup types. Then offsite storage. Once you take backup, if you store the backup in the primary site, what will happen? If the flood happened on the primary site, you will lose the backup as well, right? So similarly, the offsite storage means the taken backup must be stored somewhere away, like a different country or different geo, so that will not be impacted with the the primary incident happening on the primary location. So next, DRP testing. This is what I informed earlier about. We'll cover it later. The moment you prepare the business continuity plan or incident response plan or disaster recovery plan, how to test that plan? First one is read through. Read through means sending the plan to every team member, ask them to read and get the feedback over email. Second one, walk through. You just group together in a conference room. You will walk through this is how we are prepared for the disaster recovery plan. You discuss with the different team people and get the feedback and correct the plan. Then simulation. Simulation, you are not touching the production device, but you are just simulating. Let's say war is happening. Let's assume war is happening. Network team, what will you do? SQL team, what will you do? As a public relation officer, how would you communicate to the newspaper or a press media? So they just simulate in a synthetic or artificial environment, and they try to see how the people are responding. They figure out which one is missing to fix the gap. Then parallel test, they will bring up the DR site. It could be warm site or hot site. They bring up and see what are the challenges they are facing without disaster environment, situation. Let's say flood is not happening. Normal day, they are asking 15 employees to go to the site B, which is hot site, and work and see what are the challenges. Let's say that while going, the employee, they are not get allowed into the office, or they don't have enough space to stay there. Those challenges will come when you do parallel test, because you are preparing your environment for parallel testing. Then full interruption test. During full interruption, you are shutting down the primary site and applying the disaster recovery, maybe cold site or warm site or a hot site. You are diverting your workforce to another site and see really the working or not. There are companies will do every 6 months DR drill, which is called a disaster recovery simulation or real drill. They shut down the thing and they will test the planning. You might have seen in the building like the fire incident drill they do. They trigger all the alarms and they ask people to join in a common location. These all are part of disaster recovery planning. If there is a fire incident, how people would react, that's the plan they will keep in mind, and they do simulations. So these are the 5 types. You must aware what is read through, what is walk through, what is simulation, what is parallel test, what is full interruption. So each method will give some pros and cons. For example, just sending emails to all the team member asking them to read, who will read? There are 1 or 2 people read, so that may not be effective. When you do walkthrough with the conference room, maybe you are make them understand sitting together and discussing the plan. Simulation at some level it may help, but may not be fully. But parallel test and the full interruption test must be mostly effective, because we are simulating the disaster in a normal day and try to see how business withstand and understanding the disaster recovery effective. So now a quiz time. So as I know, we are running over time. Maybe we may end up with the next 5 minutes. So start with the question: which type of recovery site has some or most system in place but doesn't have the data needed to take over operations? So hot site or warm site or a cloud site or cold site? So you can take the chat and respond. All right, so we'll start with the answer. First one is hot site. Hot site is a replica, right? Up to date, everything would be there. So here the question doesn't have the data. So they given the hint. Entire question doesn't have the data is the primary twist. While reading the question itself, you need to identify what hint they are giving. So it doesn't have the data. Hot site, out of scope. Now hot site is a site, they have everything ready so that during disaster the employee can go and work. Warm site is a site where the office building, equipment, infrastructure, everything is there, but only people, computer, data not there. So this is matching with the requirement, doesn't have data in the question hint. So warm site is the answer. Cloud site is out of scope. We don't have that type in the list, which we have learned. Cold site was there. Cold site is just an empty building. You need to install everything. So that also not matching. So answer is option 2. So next question, this would be a little bit tricky. So take your chance and try to see you can answer. Genie recently conducted an assessment and determined that his organization can be without its main transaction database for maximum 2 hours before unacceptable damage occurs to the business. Therefore, the goal of his organization is to restore the service within 2 hours. Which metric Genie is identified? So when it comes to backup, right? So recovery time objective applicable. So the answer is 2, which I could see in the chat as well. So hope you guys understand the concept. So this is how in the real exam as well. So real exam, they put the scenario and ask you to figure out. So the primary difference between our theoretical exam and multiple choice question exam, people who just memorize the thing will not able to crack the exam. The reason behind that, you need to apply the knowledge what you have gained through the courses or the lessons you have learned. So I would recommend you to complete the CC training by ISC2 as soon as possible. Then you explore other resources like my training or tons of other resources available on YouTube. If you just go to YouTube and search certified in cybersecurity training, you just sort with views, or there are awesome trainers like Prab Nair and multiple other known trainers posted multiple contents. If you see any topic which you are not understand with my explanation, feel free to refer YouTube or a Google search or ask ChatGPT or Perplexity, and learn each and every way, because nowadays multiple ways available. If you go to ChatGPT and ask what is RTO, or if you just paste this question on ChatGPT, that will answer perfectly. So you have multiple things in hand. What you need is you just take exam outline, take the mind map which I am sharing on the chat, WhatsApp chat, so you can get the topic list and understand each and every topic through various ways. You can ask ChatGPT, you can refer Google or multiple people written blogs about certified in cybersecurity. Take that option when you are free. So don't limit the resources whatever I am giving, because the internet is wider. You have multiple options to read. Even there are people written books for certified in cybersecurity. Check if you have feasibility to access those books. If possible, go and read the books, because textbook may give very in-depth breadth knowledge other than the live videos, because you are covering in a structured way. Even my presentations are prepared from the books, and my multiple books I used to refer and prepare the slides by my own. So maybe I may cut a few unnecessary informations from the book, because my time is limited with 1.5 hours. Like today we extended up to 2 hours. So I just like to remind where we are. We are still in the number 1 and the number 2. Some are preparing for the exam. So keep in mind, that's where we are standing now. We need to cross 3 more weeks to make you ready. Then probably within next 10 days, I will prepare simulation engine for exam. So I will provide the test website so that you can go and simulate 100 questions within 2 hours, just to get used to the environment. You are sitting for an exam. Within 2 hours, you need to complete 100 questions. So what if I give you 100 questions with a 2-hour timer, so that you can practice yourself comfortable with the 2 hours logic? Whether you are able to touch all the 100 questions or not, that we need to validate. Once you are comfortable, then you can book the exam and write it. So with that, I conclude this session today. Have a good and nice weekend, all of you. Thank you for joining.